All right, just got to keep going here. Get some lunch, but want to keep going today. Start a new job in a week, so we'll have less time to work on this then. So I'm hoping to get version 1 out by then. Version 1 out. So, and by out I mean not version 1, but beta or whatever. It's some version out on itch.io. I will figure it out then. But where I left off was going through how these come back to each other and all of that. So at this point, what I will need to do is really start thinking about moving all of my commands over to this structure. So I guess what I'll do here is start at the top and figure out, implement each of these as I go. One thing I need to do is this get key and pause. I've wired them up, but I haven't done anything with them yet. So get key, the definition of get key is gets the last returned key press. So one of the things that I need to probably think here is to make an input buffer, because that was one of the things I wasn't really happy with, is how I was doing input before. And I just want to centralize all of the input into one spot. So that's what I am going to do. I also need a way to tell it to begin to record input and or, stop recording input. But we'll get there. So, mostly because, let me see here. We'll switch this over. So how this will work, or how input was working, was I was mostly recording these events right here. So I'll eventually remove these. When I'm done, but what I want to do is say window.textInput plus equals computer input buffer dot, and then create this window text input and key up. So this is for when I'm specifically looking for textual input. And key up is when I'm looking for specific key input, and they're slightly different. And it's actually a pretty annoying difference, to be honest. I need to do key up there, but I also wanted to include the key down. So part of what makes this annoying is that text input event args, like E, it'll tell you the character, and then it'll give you like the key, I think. But I don't think this gives you. It just gives you the key, so you're gonna have to adjust for that. So if you do like a Shift A, I think that would come in as 2 key events, but you can't really interpret that like the way you would with text input. So there's just some idiosyncrasies I'm gonna need to work with through here. So key up is when it was down, and now it's transitioned to the up phase. And key down obviously is I was up and then I transitioned to down. Now, how I was implementing get key was fairly straightforward, I believe, and it was on the key up event. all I did was I just, yeah, I set this last key value. Or I got it, and then what I did is I cleared it. Because really it's the last key up since you last called get key. So there's the since you last called get key. So there's a state difference there. So you kind of have to like clear out, or it's a stateful thing, I believe. So get key must keep track of what it had before, and then like when you retrieve it, it resets itself. So that if you try to retrieve it immediately again, you're not going to get an answer. If that makes sense. It's kind of it's a bit annoying thing to implement, but it sort of makes sense because you wouldn't want to express that, hey, the up arrow or W was pressed, and then, or like the down arrow, the up arrow, or any of the keys were pressed, and then just have it be stuck in the down state, I guess. So it was like, what was the last pressed key? So what I think I was doing is that I was keeping track of when a key got up, I was dropping that key code into so maybe we do something like last key up equals e dot key, and we make that a how is that a flag? Keys aren't flags, are they? Or is that just a true thing about enums in general? Anyways, we convert that into an integer. So that'll constantly be updating. And then I need to also keep track of like, or I need to be able to like reset it. So I think what I did was I went like this, and then I would say get I'd set that back to null after grabbing it. So where it was like -1. Is that what I said I would return? Yeah, I'm just gonna, this is basically how I implemented last time. So basically it will keep recording this, but when I fetch it, it's going to set it to null. So then if between two get keys, if I don't have a, well, I don't need to set it to null, actually. I can just set it to -1, I suppose. That way I can get rid of the nullability. And say, just do this and reset it to -1. So then if it returns -1, or if it gets set to -1, this will be -1. It'll just return -1, but it'll just set it back to itself. Yeah, this should all work just fine. Yeah. And I believe get key is a it's interesting because it's a non-blocking, but it has a return value right away. So that's unlike pause here. Which should be fine. I should be able to just immediately return to program. the ooh. No, I don't want to do that. I want to take the current program on the stack and resume it. That's what I would really want to do here. So it's end request. And it would be input get last key up for this. So this peak is getting a little annoying, so what I'm going to do is put that behind. Simple getter. Now this will throw if there's nothing there, so I think I have to go and be a little safe with this. And I can do that down here. As well. So this is more of like a non-immediate one. Okay, so this will be true by default because I'm already checking this here. Well, I suppose there's some safety there. Okay, so that should give us the get key immediately responding. Now pause is a little more interesting, but I'm going to come back to that because I want to just go down the list as I go in terms of stuff that I need to implement. So run program's done, get key is technically done, should be done. Get supported display resolutions. I think I still need to support that, so protected string array, get supported display resolutions. Like that. This is past get key. This up here a little bit. So that sends the signal here to get the supported display resolution. Go to the computer. I've got to interpret that here. I want these to be kind of in order. So these two should really be towards the bottom, or towards the top, technically. But in the way that they're... Anyways. Get supported display resolution. I don't really care about the thing, but I would just return this right away, just like I did with end the request by passing back. Well, I'll take a look at how I implemented this in sys, which is get supported. Or no, I did that on... Actually, where did I do that at? Did I do that on the home screen? Oh. It's on the display. Itself. So I might want to change that in the future too, but okay. Just like that. And I've done this enough now where I can probably say that there should be a return immediate, maybe. Again, that's just to simplify this a little bit, clarify what I'm doing. Return immediate versus return program, which is really like an exit program. So maybe I should actually think about, you know, calling this exit program or something like that instead of return program. Okay, so that should work. The next instruction was... So I should probably start cleaning these up as I go too. Well, actually that one would be cleaned up. Get and set display resolutions. So set takes an int, this get turns an int. I should really be able to combine those into one thing where if I don't provide a parameter, it just doesn't do anything. But I haven't figured out how to do, and then it just returns it always. But I don't think I've figured out quite how to do that yet, so. So we would go like that. We'll just do both of these at the same time because they're very similar. So this is get display resolution, and this returns an int. What was it called? Resolution index. I guess what did I document it as is the question. Display resolution index. Feels like maybe I'm doing some work here that I don't need to be doing. This should be a straight up public. Not implicitly convert type void to type L. That's because I did this. Oh. All right, and then we go to our computer and we implement those. Get display resolution. Return immediate. Display get display resolution. Oh. Case instruction dot set display resolution. Is display dot set display resolution. Okay, and that will return immediately. So again, the set foreground and background thing, well, I can change their behavior later. Still need to implement them this way. Set foreground, set background. It's basically the same kind of operation. Set foreground. And I should make sure I do get above set. Oh, I need gets too, which I haven't implemented yet, I don't think. Palette index. Get foreground. And this is a request, not a publish. And the background ones are very similar. They just changed FG to BG. So then within here, I would change this to... I need to add these in because I did not have them before. So I'm adding a little bit of functionality. Just a little bit. I gotta just make sure I consistently order these at some point. Get foreground. Set foreground. Takes a palette index. And then same with our background brethren. so these are get returns. Sorry. And this should be an int as well. Publish, publish, begin, begin. Yeah, okay. That's all correct. Get background color. Or sorry, foreground is really first, right? Display, this would be return immediate. And it would be our display dot foreground, or yeah, foreground. And this would be just display set foreground. And these are implemented the same for our background colors. Okay. And we already have display and home and graph already done. So that completes this topper set. Sort of. So pause, we still need to figure out how we're going to implement that. So pause would be we wait until they press enter, which is kind of like, technically it's kind of like it needs to run in its own. It's really what it's waiting for is an enter key. So it's kind of like it needs to sit there and keep requesting it over and over again until it gets back the enter key. So it's like a while loop that's like a get key, and while the get key isn't whatever. But we can't do that here because that would block the main thread. So you know, the thing is do I run that as a subroutine? Because the other thing it does too is that it has some functionality in terms of drawing. It actually will draw these little dots up in the corner of the screen in whatever mode you're in, which is why on the TI-83 calculator it doesn't. Now I don't have that implemented, and in fact you can draw in the last column, but I really need to maybe prevent that from happening.